last year of close to $20 million. That's $19.8 million for basically losing 80% of the value of his company. I don't know of another job in the world where you can fail so miserably and get paid that kind of money.
Great. It's paradise. Evidently, it's financial paradise for somebody.
Dude, I want in. Where's the job? I mean, I'm speechless. I want in.
And that's the ridiculous nature of it, because here you have shareholder-owned companies where the backing of the federal government, by the federal government of those entities is implied. Well, it's not only implied, but now it's obviously been put in place, because that's what this bill was really there set up for, was to be that backing for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
All right, let's go over to Fannie Mae for a second, the compensation package there. Fannie Mae President and CEO Daniel Mudd, a guy I've personally met, and I washed my hands after after we shook hands. I just felt I needed a shower, to be honest with you. He got paid $13.4 million last year and just got a $5.4 million stock award. That's a 7% raise. Let me repeat that. He got paid last year $13.4 million. Again, his company lost about 80% of its value, just tens and tens and tens of billions of dollars. Just got a $5.4 million stock award, which represents a 7% raise. How does this happen?
Well, it doesn't jive with anything. I mean, just like you pointed out, folks who do a miserable job are basically put on probation or fired.
Right.
In this case, they're financially rewarded. And they're rewarded beyond the measure of what any of us out here can imagine anyone being awarded, those kinds of numbers.
Let's talk about their lobbying bill. $170 million over the last decade, and they're a government agency?
That's right. I mean, in fact, I don't know if you've seen Congress, but this is an interesting piece, because there's all kinds of rackets in Washington, D.C. One kind of racket in Washington, D.C. is that when you have hearings at the congressional level, it's supposedly who first come, first serve, except they got a company that basically controls who gets in line. And so basically they hire people out of homeless shelters to stand in line all night to reserve spots. Well, you can't reserve those spots unless you pay usually $5,000 a head or $10,000 a head. Of course, every time the GSEs are being discussed, there are always 50 people standing in line overnight at $10,000 a head that the company has paid, that they basically pay these folks who are coming out of homeless shelters little or nothing, and all of that comes out of Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac's budget.
Unbelievable. Tell us one more time, in some cases you'll be repeating what Bruce had to say, but tell me what your organization is doing to help homeowners in trouble right now.
Yeah, we're about 22 years old, and we've been fighting the predatory lending fight for nearly 22 years now, and along with Bruce Marks. So what we're doing right now is that we had an event last week in Washington, D.C., and we received well over 20,000 people there at the Capitol Hilton Hotel. And we brought in our staff from all across the country, so we had 500 people, housing counselors in the ballroom. And as people came in and shuffled through, they came with all their documents, and we began to work people out of foreclosure. And that means that we did, since we're all web-based, we did the kind of budgeting that these companies should have done in the first place, to look at what people actually spend it, the kind of income that people actually had coming in. And we basically made that determination of what is affordable based on that formula, and it was that affordability number that was forwarded to their lending agencies with the demand that they restructure the loans. Many of them did restructure the loans. Some of them we're still battling with, but many people got their property, their mortgage payment cut in half or cut by a quarter, and got people out of trouble. And so it's for the life of the loan. So we're not looking at variable rates to kick in sometime later or a balloon payment. The fact is it's a fixed rate, and the finance company needs to back out the number to discover what the interest rate therefore is.
So you have mortgage counselors right there at the event that can help people on a case-by-case basis?
That's right. They have worked it out for people right there, sitting right there at the table.
That's wonderful. And once again, your website is NACA.com. And what was that 1-800 number again, or 888 number?
888-302-NACA.
Now, you're going to be in New York City, Atlanta, Chicago, Denver, Los Angeles, and Houston. Any plans for Northern California? We are hurting in a bad way here in the housing crisis.
We are continuing to make that movement, and so we're developing it now. And so with your pitch, I'm going to push for Northern California.
Absolutely. NPR, a couple of years ago, I was driving my job at UBS. Should I say I'm ashamed that let's just leave that alone. They don't want me to disparage them. I was driving to my job at UBS from the Cayuga Valley here to Santa Rosa, and lo and behold, on Fresh, was it Fresh? No, it was on the morning edition. There was a show on the looming credit crisis, the looming housing crisis, and they had singled out of all places, Santa Rosa, California, for discussion, and my office was in Santa Rosa.
My Lord.
So that must be indicative of something that we're hurting as in a bad way here as anywhere.
Right.
So I would really ask you to include Northern California in your plans. If for no other reason, then I probably know about 20 or 30 people who could use some mortgage counseling right now. Families, working families, and in one case, he's a cop who's upside down on a mortgage where an arm kicked in, and he can't afford going from $2,800 a month to $4,500 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So we need you here. I hope you come here. You have, I think, through my producer, you have my phone number. If there's any way I can help to organize an event here, I will do so. And I'm sure our station here at KZYX, and I'm sure our alternative weekly press at the Bohemian will do everything to promote this nonprofit event.
Well, with that urging, I will surely strongly push.
Thank you very much, Reverend.
Thank you.
Let's talk about one or two of the other provisions. We've got about 6 minutes left, and incidentally, I want to make a special request of you in the last minute. So we have 5 minutes. I want you to talk about some of the other provisions of the bill. Are they all smoke and mirrors too? This provision to help seniors out with reverse mortgages.
I mean, the whole thing is that reverse mortgages have been this entity that's been out there. And see, a lot of the stuff that is covered in the bill that sort of says, well, truth in lending. Well, we've had truth in lending. The question is, who enforced truth in lending? Exactly. And do we end up back in that place? And also the issue with reversed mortgages. There are governmental regulations around that. The fact is who regulates it, who monitors it, who makes sure that seniors are not being really severely ripped off. I mean, all those kinds of things. The thing is that very often what we find in these pieces of legislation is that the legislators basically trust in a very naive fashion that what they claim is going to happen is going to happen. But very often we've been through this period where there has been less and less regulation, and so it has been whatever you can get away with. And that's the danger right now, even with this bill. And the fact is, a lot of the stuff that they talk about, even in terms of lending, I mean, obviously, it's upon a timeline of people got a loan at a certain date, and basically it leaves a lot of people out who got loans prior to that. Well, that's a lot of people. I mean, so when you look at the bill it has its flaws to it. I mean, obviously, people said we had to narrow it down in order to be able to deal with the crux of the problem. Well, the crux of the problem is very broad and very wide.